I would like to officially call to order the Tuesday, March 19th, 2024 public meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission pursuant to the amendment of Bill H 3548 and Governor Healy signing of such amendments into law in March of 2023, expressing certain provisions of the open meeting law. This public meeting of the Town of Bolton Conservation Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but the public can access this meeting while in progress by Zoom video. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by telephone, cell phone, personal computer, or using Zoom. Guideline for participants: utilize the chat or raised hand function to address the board. Remain on mute until you have been addressed by the board chair, and participants are required to display their first and last names. Per tradition, we'll start with a roll call, starting with me. I am Jim Garrity.
Paul Bramwell.
Lori Stevenson.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, first up, the Bolton Conservation Commission will open the public hearing regarding a notice of intent under provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and under the Bolton Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 233, for 98 Berlin Road, Map 4C, Parcel 1. Lauren, is the applicant or the representative here?
I'm here, Jack Maloney from Dillis and Roy.
Hey, Jack.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Do you want me to share my screen?
If you could, that would be great.
Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Lauren, point of order, do we need to get into the request for a certificate of compliance for the 1991?
Sure, if you want to just explain to everyone a little bit about that and how we need that done before we can finalize this hearing, that would be good. Okay, so back in 1991, same client, Letty Smith, approached the board. Let me just find the application with a notice of intent to do some work on this property, and there was an order of conditions that was issued, 112-49, or do I have that wrong, Lauren? I think there was a correction on that. Yeah, there was 112-149. Oh, yeah, it was 149. And then there was an amended version, 149A, later on. Okay, I don't know if I received copies of that, but needless to say, there was the project was to construct walls, barriers, and drainage to keep property from eroding into adjoining wetlands. This property is located at 98 Berlin Road. If you're heading out of town, out Berlin Road, it's just before the South Bolton Road, Berlin Road split. It's on the left-hand side. Ranch house, and it's a walkout in the back, and it virtually sits along the swamp that's out there. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit here. So what was proposed back in 1991 was what we're going to be asking for to be replaced is basically it's a railroad tie retaining wall that's in this dark area. It's starting to fall in, it's collapsing. It has seen better days. From what the proponent has told me over the years, this must have been filled in prior to him and his family buying it. There was a bunch of sinkholes out there at the time. He got permission to fill the sinkholes in with crushed stone and loam and seed over the top of it. This driveway that's on this side of the house, that was added or improved, and then there was an existing gravel driveway that they improved down along this side of the house. And I think there were some boulders that were put in along this banking that were used to stabilize the slope over there. And then there was also a split rail fence that was added in along top of that. I believe that was pretty much it. Oh, sorry. There was some drainage that was added along the front here. There was a trench that was excavated along the foundation, and then they put a footing drain in along the front, which dumps out towards the back. And that was all graded back, loamed and seeded. And I think as part of some mitigation, that along this retaining wall here, there were several large arborvitae type trees that were installed. So that order of conditions needs to be finalized and taken care of before we can have you guys issue a new order of conditions to do some more work on the property. So our office has submitted the forms to request the certificate of compliance be closed out and with the fee accordingly. So I guess that's where we have to proceed first.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, and we also, I don't think we have a DEP number for this, is that correct?
Yes, it just came in yesterday.
Oh, it did, okay.
Yeah, I do have a copy of it here. Excuse me while I dig through this mess of papers. 1112-0742.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, yeah, I think the process here is we need to close out I'm calling it the 1995 certificate of compliance. Yeah, it was originally issued in 91, and then the amended version was just to extend it another 3 years.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Just one question, Jack. So what you're doing is you're staying within the exact same footprint as where the railroad ties are when you're putting in the blocks, correct?
Correct. Do you want me to do that presentation now, Jim?
Sure.
Okay, so the new notice of intent that we filed on behalf of Letty Smith is twofold. One, he wants to replace the retaining wall that has fallen in. I'm sorry I don't have pictures of it, but this middle section right in here is all collapsed. The wood has rotted away. There are still some sections that are pretty decent towards the top, but if you look down 5, 6, 7 courses, it's starting to rot away. There's some holes in the wood. The insects have gotten in there and really done a number on it. The second part of this is there's another wooden retaining wall along here that connects to the stairwell, and then a short one that connects the stairwell to the house. The stairwell and the short wall are going to remain, but this other wall is going to come out. These two sheds are eventually going to be moved, and the new septic system is going to be installed where this yellow block is. The septic system right now, there's a septic tank in this area where the red is, and then there's some sort of a leaching field underneath this portion of the driveway. And there's a separate cesspool that handles some flow from downstairs that is, I showed it in this area. Letty says it's actually closer to the wetland area that will be pumped and eventually used for some drainage recharge from the roof in a low spot back in here where there's a walk-in underneath this porch back here. So the work that we're proposing to do, new block retaining wall. Those are going to be the big blocks that I proposed, 2 feet wide, 2 feet high by 4 feet long. The old retaining wall will be pulled out. Obviously, we're going to have erosion control along the base of it. Some earthwork may have to be done. Some of this earth may have to be pulled back in order for us to get the blocks into place, create the foundation for it, which is basically a half a foot to a foot of crushed stone, and then allow for some crushed stone to be behind that to allow the wall to disperse the water buildup or any water buildup that may be gathering behind it. We've proposed if there is any sort of stockpile area, that this area over here be used, and then we'll wrap that obviously with some siltation devices. And then for the septic system, like I said, this wall, it's that same railroad tie wall. He doesn't want it. We don't really need it. We're going to be regrading this when we put the septic system in. So this will be a grass slope that will stop right before we get to the existing gravel driveway, and then that'll all be loamed and seeded again, and we'll have erosion control around the other side of that driveway. One of the comments was that we bring the erosion control from this point back up to here from DEP and the DEP notice. And then I think they wanted to bring this erosion control uphill just a little bit more to help protect that stockpile area. And I think
Okay.
that's pretty much about it. Just one last point of interest. This dark dash line right here is the 50-foot buffer. And then we have the 100-foot buffer out here. So this upland area is virtually all within the 100-foot buffer.
Okay. And the well is, I'm trying to see.
The well is, there's basically, it's in the house. It's underneath this, it's an enclosed porch now, but the well is a well that's here. And then they have the suction pump for the well. So it's a shallow well. So these two blue lines here represent 50 feet from the well and from the suction pump. And then the two outer blue lines are representative of the 100-foot offset from each one of them. And that would be for Board of Health purposes.
Okay. Okay, anything else, Jack?
I think that's about it, unless
Okay.
commission has any questions.
Yeah, okay, I think I'm all set. Open it up to other commission members. Do they have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question regarding, so where are you putting the septic? What is that, just lawn area today?
Correct. That's the upper front lawn area. It's pretty level with the with Berlin Road, Paul.
Okay.
It's all we ended up with, I think, 2 10-foot sand and gravel holes. So by the time we get done, the only thing that you're going to see is a vent pipe sticking up near the shed over here. Other than that, it's going to be loamed and seeded back over as front lawn.
All right. What are those two yellow rectangles to the right there?
This is the new 1,500-gallon 2-compartment septic tank and the 1,000-gallon pump chamber.
Okay, got it. When do you plan to do the work?
He would like to get it done this spring or early this summer.
All right.
Obviously, weather dependent on the wall. We don't want to get into a situation where we had last year, where we had major rainstorm every week. So
yeah, that was the reason for my questioning, is when you're trying to doing it when it is as dry as possible.
Correct.
Yeah.
We'd like to.
All right. I don't have any further. I don't know, Jim, we may want to go take a look at it, but it looks okay.
Yep. For sure. Yep. Thank you. Any other questions, commission members?
Yep. Are you raising the grade out back higher than what it already is?
No, we are not. Lori, the only area that we may try to fix is this little low spot right in here. I think he wants to grade it out a little bit. So once the new block wall gets in, it'll be an even slope from the basically the top of the bank here down to the top of the wall. There's kind of a little gully that's formed in this area here. So want to kind of even that whole yard off along that back area. If you come out on the site walk, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Actually, I have one more question. When you plan to redo the retaining wall, the big one there at the end, how are you gonna mitigate any damage to the actual wetlands? Because you're right on the edge there, right?
We are right on the edge. I think what's going to have to happen is we're going to have to put the erosion control in right at the very base of that wall, and we're going to have to pull some of that earth back and pull the wood pieces out, obviously very carefully, so we're not dropping anything into the wetlands. And then we're going to have to pull it back far enough where we can get that base of stone in for the foundation for the block wall.
So what kind of heavy equipment do you anticipate you need to do that type of work?
I think all this work can be done with an excavator. A medium-sized excavator that has a pretty good reach down here, because it would be sitting basically at the top of this.
Yeah, got it.
ledge here. And again, Paul, when we go out, you'll see what it looks like.
Yeah.
And it's all wide open. There's no trees in the back there. There are trees along this slope behind the fence in this area here, but if there are any, that's just small scrubby growth that's in there.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good, thank you. Any members of the public here to comment on this? Okay, not seeing any. So it looks like, Jack, that we have the request to close out the COC. So what I'd like to propose is that we do a site visit, and we do two things on the site visit. One is close out the COC and then look at what you're trying to propose here for this NOI. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yep. I kind of figured that's what we would be doing anyway.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, so I would like to make a motion that we continue the hearing for 98 Berlin Road until our next meeting, which is on April 2nd. And Lauren, do you have a time for that?
Yeah, we already have something scheduled for 7 o'clock, so the next one could be 7:10.
So it's 7:10. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye, starting with Lori.
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well, Lauren.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, when can we schedule that site hearing, or would Rebecca and Lauren be reaching out to me?
Yeah, I can follow up with you tomorrow, Jack. I'll send you out an email and we can schedule something.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Okay,
Have
thank
a good
you.
night.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Take care. Okay, I think we're all set for the next one, Lauren.
Yep.
Okay. The Bolton Conservation Commission will now open the public hearing regarding a notice of intent under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and under the Bolton Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 233, for 272 Harvard Road, map 6C, parcel 15. Lauren, is the applicant or their representative here?
I see Matthew Morrow is on.
Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Morrow, representing Michael Cotter for 272 Harvard Road. If I can share my screen, Lauren?
Sure.
Thank you. Let me know if you guys can see that okay.
Yep.
Okay, so this is actually, the septic was actually put in back in 2013. So what wound up happening on this was there was apparently a leak in the home that from a fixture that was undetected. And as a result, it blew more water in than what the system was initially designed for, because you had a constant trickle of a flow. So the leach field was basically bloated and blown out. So what we're proposing to do, Evan Carloni from Innovative Septic Design reviewed the original plan on site, looked at the system, and basically determined that all we have to do is just go by this plan and just essentially remove the top of the leach field, replace the leach field in kind, and then just simply put the top back on. The grading that is shown in the plans here was from the original install. There's no further grading proposed. It's simply just skim the top off, take any excess soils off site immediately, replace it with clean fill, and put in the new leach fill. The force main, the tanks, everything else is remaining in place as is. There's no changes proposed there. That's basically it.
Is that it, Matt?
That's it. I mean, it's a quick job. It'd probably take them less than a week to do it.
Okay. You're not doing any regrading at all?
Nothing. The grading that's shown now is the grading that was on the as-built from the install. So it's simply just take off the top, put in the new system. The grading is exactly the same. There's no grading proposed on this at all. It's just
Okay.
pull out the old field, put in the new field, seal it back up.
Okay, thank you. And where are the erosion controls here?
So we have erosion control. There's wetlands on two sides. So we have erosion controls proposed here. Your edge of 100-foot buffer zone on this side is actually here. Your edge of 100-foot buffer zone on this side actually comes here. So the system is actually right on the edge of the buffer zone. We're going to put, the bales in as a precaution. There's no grading proposed in here, so there'll be no intrusion into like the 50-foot zone. And we're going to make sure that the bales are up to, prevent any equipment from straying in. Again, it's a simple access, strip off, put in new tank, put soil back on. Lumen seed. There's no trees to be removed, nothing. It's all existing lawn area.
Okay, and those dashed lines are the erosion control?
That is
what-
correct.
Okay,
This line here and this line here.
okay. Is that going all the way to?
We
looks
won't
like the
have to
house?
go that far here. Again, this was from the original plan, but the
Okay,
notice of intent narrative calls for the bales to be installed around here anyway. There's this area here where the force main is and the tank is remaining in place. It is not being replaced. It's everything else is remaining in place. The work area is just confined to this area right here. In my understanding and speaking to Mr. Carloni, the Board of Health is okay with it.
okay. And then any stockpiling, or you're gonna, where are you gonna stockpile any material, or do you have to
There-
stockpile material?
You won't have to stockpile material because any soil that's excavated would be removed on site that day.
Okay,
If this is like probably the simplest septic repair that I've done yet to date, because it just involves one component and it's real quick.
okay. One more question, Matt. Are you looking to confirm resource area delineation, or are you just looking to just do the septic then?
We're really looking to just do the septic replacement. That's it.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Open it up to other commission members for questions.
I'm good.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any members of the public here to comment on this project? Seeing none. Okay, it looks pretty straightforward here. Let me make sure I get this right. Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we close the hearing for 272 Harvard Road. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye, starting with Lori.
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. And I'd like to make a motion that we approve the NOI for 272 Harvard Road. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye, starting with Lori.
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Lauren. If you could send me the order when it's ready,
Sure,
send the order to me so I can make sure it's promptly recorded.
sure. We just need to collect signatures and I can get that over to you as soon as we get everyone's signatures.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine, no problem. I just wanted to make sure you need to send it to me because I want to make sure it gets recorded promptly.
Okay, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night,
Okay,
guys.
have a good night.
You
Thank
too.
you. Okay, I think we're on to the next one. The Bolton Conservation Commission continues the public hearing regarding notes of intent under provision Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and under the Bolton Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 233 for 160 Still River Road, Map 6A, Parcel 14. And I believe, I'm not sure if Thomas is here or his representative, but I believe we don't have a septic plan yet.
Correct, Jim. I received an email today from Mr. Broomfield requesting a continuation because they have not gotten the new septic plan yet.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we continue the hearing for 160 Still River Road until our next hearing, which is on April 2nd. And what time, Lauren? Can we schedule that?
So I think that would be 7:20 now.
Do I hear a second to continue?
Second.
All those in favor say aye, starting with Lori,
Aye.
Paul,
I
and I am an aye as well, Lauren. Okay, I think we're on track for the next one. The Bolton Conservation Commission will now continue the public hearing regarding a request for determination of applicability under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and under the Bolton Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 233 for 715 Main Street, which is the Bolton Town Common, Map 1, Parcel 42. Lauren, is the representative here or the
We have Tim Hess here tonight.
Hi,
Hey,
Mr.
Tim.
Chair and Lauren, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. I'm not sure what's wrong with my camera, but it's as long as we can see the screens, you don't have to see me.
That's okay. I can share the screen too if you need.
Terrific. I think I can still share mine, but we've got all the same stuff, Lauren. So if you've got it teed up, that's just as well.
Okay. Sure, 1 minute.
So if I may, while Lauren's calling that up, I'll just call your attention to a couple of, gonna let that ring.
Can you see that?
I can, yeah. And if you'll excuse me for just a moment, I'm getting a call and I'm thinking it might be my client. Can you hold one moment?
Sure.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Okay, I appreciate the indulgence. Thank you. So yeah, I just want to call your attention to a couple of things that have changed. I know we've been together a couple times on this, so I assume that you're all pretty well acquainted with the broad strokes. Couple of changes that have come up over the course of our contractors interviewing and meeting on site with a number of alternative tree removal subcontractors. Through the course of that, our request has expanded just a little bit, and it's in these ways. Not all of the subcontractors agreed with our proposed equipment locations. Those made sense to us and had come about on the advice, largely on the advice of Mr. Case. And certainly we don't mean to suggest that's his responsibility. We appreciated his doing us that favor, and we thought those locations were sensible. However, in speaking with some of the subs who might actually be engaged to do the work, there was, at least some of them felt that an additional location or an alternate location would serve the project better. So our request before you tonight is the same as before, except that rather than limit our crane location to half of the width of the access road, we're now requesting permission to position a crane in both locations, one that would consume the full width, thanks Lauren, of the access road, and the other that would consume some spaces in the rear parking lot. And in both cases, the laydown and chipper location would move with them. And just to be entirely transparent, I'll say that there has not been a great consensus among the multiple tree contractors that our general has spoken with. Some prefer one location, some prefer the other, some felt that they might need both. So in order to be conservative in our dialogue with you all, we feel the appropriate thing to do is seek permission to use both of them. The other bit of news that I'll share just because it's unfolded, but we do not think it would be prudent to expand our request, is that the consensus among these subcontractors is that our estimate of the 2-week timeline is really conservative. A couple of them felt that it was as little as a 1-day job. So I say that just as a matter of transparency, but we have not modified the request to indicate that we'll disturb, that we'll assume only a day. We're still expecting conservatively, we're looking for permission to take up to 2 weeks. So sorry for the ramble, but I hope that conveys the gist, and happy to take any questions.
Okay, great. Thanks, Tim. Question on I'll call it the North Crane, right? The one that will be in the parking lot. Is it going to be entirely in the parking lot? Yeah, that one. Thank you.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, I should say, just to be clear, a crane by its nature has a big long arm, and that arm will reach out beyond that.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay, good. Thank you. And regarding we talked about a 1-for-1 replacement with the trees, right?
Yes.
And to be clear on that, it's a 1-for-1 like replacement. So in other words, if you remove a pine tree, you replace it with a pine tree. If you remove an oak, you replace it with an oak, right? So we're not going to get hung up on the species, but whatever you take out, the species you take out is the species you replace. Is that
I appreciate that question. Yeah, there was a little bit of hang up on that issue last time, and let me try to clarify an additional change that I failed to mention. There was a sentence that some members of the board had a little trouble with when we were together 2 weeks ago, and that was having to do with the possibility that some positions of replacement trees could pose a threat to our building. We've simply removed that on the good faith that in the town's judgment, they won't do that.
okay?
And what we say in our application is that the species and locations of trees, since they're on town property, those would be at the town's discretion. So if you say you want a pine, you get a pine. If you say you want an oak, you get an oak. For whatever reason you want, that's what we're proposing.
Okay. Yep. Understood. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
I'll open it up to commission members. Any questions?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Laurie, any questions? Take that as no. Any members of the public? Okay. I would like to make a motion that we close the hearing for 715 Main Street. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye, starting with Laurie.
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well, Lauren. And I would like to make a motion that we issue a -3 finding for 715 Main Street with the following conditions. I'm going to read these off, so bear with me. Trees shall be removed as proposed, the 5 trees as identified on the plans created by Saminsky and McNary, dated 3/12/24. Mitigation shall be in accordance with a replacement of a ratio of 1-to-1 plantings using native species. Applicant shall coordinate with the tree warden regarding planting locations on town land. Tree planting shall also be in compliance with the Wetlands Protection Act and the Wetlands Bylaw. Structural integrity of the stream channel and enclosure shall be maintained on town land. Any adverse impacts of the stream channel or enclosure located below town common to the east of the entrance drive to town common shall be the responsibility of the applicant. The applicant shall immediately repair any and all damage said structure and resource areas following tree work. The applicant must be in compliance with any and all other town bylaws. An issue of a determination of the commission does not confirm the property boundary surveyor's accuracy nor structural locations. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye, starting with Lori.
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. We appreciate your help on this.
Thanks, Tim.
Have a nice night.
You too. Okay, I think we got through that. There's in our meeting notes, there's a request for Rocky Vinger trail work authorization. So there's, I think these are conservation areas. There's a path that goes through this, these two areas, conservation areas, and one of the paths is in disrepair. And it looks like they might have to, might have to replace the path, if you will. And that might require the path to potentially go on, be rerouted through wetlands or be rerouted to avoid wetlands. So that might require an NOI that Rebecca would be filing, but the ask is to authorize, if we need a filing, is to authorize a filing for this work.
Mr. Chair, this is Gordon Taylor here. If I can interrupt slightly.
Yeah, that would be great.
I'm representing the Trails Committee, and I have a presentation if you want to see it, or if you I've worked out with Rebecca, and
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, super.
I can show you, clarify everything. I think I'm going to try and share the screen. Let me have a look. Can you see anything from me other than my face at this point?
Not yet.
I'm doing this from an iPad, from a not normal place for me to do it. So
yeah. No worries. Take your time.
This presentation, I'm not sure actually.
I don't actually, let me check. Maybe I do. 1 minute. I don't think that I do. If it's something that is it easy?
I can, or I can just try something else. Just a second.
Okay. You can always email it and then I can share it from my screen.
You can probably see a lot of rubbish at present from me, can you? Or not?
What was that?
You can see a lot of things from me at present. Maybe this will work.
There you go.
Can you
There we go.
Can you see that? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Okay. For those of you that don't know the area, the Vinger Venable and Rocky Dundee Conservation Area is between Randall Road and Berlin Road, and it's the map isn't too clear, but it's in the sort of south central area of town, not too far from the Gould White area. I don't know how many of you know that part of town at all, but the path connects through this conservation area. Randall Road, it's along that dotted line, the red line, and through to Berlin Road near the Quaker Cemetery that you might know. I don't know. The old Fry burying ground that's down there. It's potentially an important part of the Bolton Loop Trail should we ever finish the southern part, but there are other issues with that. At the moment, this trail is available, people are using it, but it has trouble. One is there's a water problem, partly because of the weather recently. I hope you can see these pictures I'm flipping through here.
Yeah.
There's a bridge that's been built by users where there didn't used to be a stream until last summer. And it's possible that it's been caused because of the rain, but also upstream, there's a beaver dam that's appeared recently, and it's essentially widened the length of the potential source of water. So instead of coming down an existing stream, it's also made itself a second stream, because if you can imagine a wide dam, several feet long, it's sort of spread the source over a bit. So people have built a makeshift bridge there. So that's one problem. Another problem is that the official trail, and I'm afraid this has got shaken up because I'm not really using the right software to display it, is that it should go over a bridge on a private driveway for a short distance and then cut into some conservation land and go behind the old Fry burying ground and out and back next to a wall and end up on Berlin Road. If you can see it on the picture there, the red line. Unfortunately, over the years, this has not been maintained properly, and the official route has become very overgrown. And you can actually almost fight your way through it this time of year, but as soon as you get through spring, this will be impossible to get through. And this route has another problem in that it crosses somebody's lawn. It's technically conservation land, but it's actually a very open space between two houses, and it's a lawn. And that's a sort of a discussion point. So possible work: build a bridge to fix this problem with the path. Clear the path, the current path that would continue to take you near the lawn. Or another way would be to, yes, this software has really screwed up my presentation, I'm afraid, I'm sorry, is to take another route which would cut from the old Fry burying ground and go onto the private driveway, which we do not have permission to use. So that would mean entering into a discussion with the owners. And another issue, which is not here, would be to reroute the whole trail and go through what looks like it might be very close to some wetlands, and then back up that green line over there. And I've talked to Rebecca about that, and she thinks we would need to go through a formal review of that. So what I'm suggesting is that we simply clear the existing trail for now and build a bridge over this sort of newly appeared brook, if all that makes sense to you. And then if it turns out that we really need to extend the trail and move it onto that other thin piece of green land on the map there, then we come back with the appropriate paperwork to get through that wetlands area that you can probably see on the map there. If that makes sense, then that's what we want to do, and we wanted to make sure you knew about it and we had your permission, I guess. So questions? And if it doesn't make sense, that's a good question.
So have you guys selected which selection you're gonna pick, or are you still
Well,
working on?
initially I was just proposing that we would, well, the ideal way would be to go number 3, and I wish I had a decent picture of this, because I have actually got the route drawn on here. But if you look where it says Old Fry Burying Ground on that map in the middle there, can you all see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the red line slightly to the left of that, which turns sharp right of that narrow bit and goes goes across somebody's lawn, is to close that bit and continue the red line further along through the blue area, which appears to be wet there, and avoid the houses altogether. That would be the ideal situation, but it looks initially as if this would cross wetlands, and I'm not sure that that's going to be allowed. So I want to, that would be the preferred route. The short-term route would be to simply to clear the existing trail of all the poison ivy and all the undergrowth that's appeared here, which would be number 2 there. Makes, and then we can discuss number 3, basically.
Okay, understood.
Yeah. And as I say, I'm sorry, there are a couple of other issues with that trail. I don't want to complicate matters more by talking too much about them, but it is possible, it is passable in these other areas. So it's not something we need to fix, say, this spring, but maybe later. Okay, so I'm just sort of giving you notice that we would like to do numbers 1 and 2, and sort of entered into whatever we need to do to investigate number 3, which is, I can't explain why the software has thrown away my nice drawing of what number 3 would be, but it has. So that's what we have.
Okay, great. Thank you, Gordon.
Okay, yeah.
Appreciate it.
And there we go. As I say, I've talked to Rebecca, and if you're okay with me doing some clearance and building that bridge, it'll probably be May before we get down to it, but that would be another project for us volunteers in the Trails Committee.
Yeah, I'm reading notes here, Gordon, that I have from Rebecca, and help me if I misinterpret this, Lauren.
Yeah.
But it says the clearing of existing trail and maintenance of the existing trail is exempt from the bylaws and the Wetlands Protection Act. So
okay.
So I think you're good with that, right?
That would mean 1 and 2, I think.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Now, now number 3, that's where I'm gonna do a roll call here to authorize Rebecca to file a request for determination of applicability or a notice of intent if you want to go down the number 3 path here.
Yeah, we have discussed it several times at the Trails Committee, and it would be our preferred answer to this.
Okay.
We really don't like sending members of the public across somebody's lawn, to be honest.
Right. Okay. Okay, good. So we're gonna do a roll call vote here to authorize Rebecca or the conservation agent to file a request for determination of applicability or notice of intent if the work is found to need a trail through the wetlands or be rerouted to avoid wetlands. All in favor, say aye, starting with Lori.
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well, Lauren.
Thank you. And Jim, I think in addition to that, Rebecca mentioned that there should be a roll call vote to also just authorize the clearing of the trails too.
Oh, okay, sure. Okay, I'd like to take a roll call vote to authorize the clearing of the existing trail. All in favor, say aye, starting with Lori.
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And I am also an aye. All
Thank
right,
you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Gordon. Appreciate that.
Okay, I'm sorry about this. I'm sorry about the quality of the presentation. I'm doing it at my sister-in-law's house on an iPad with a rather primitive connection to the internet. So, but anyway.
No, it was great. Thank you. It was very
Okay.
helpful. Appreciate it.
And if I should send the presentation in to Lauren, I can do that.
Sure, if you want to forward it, that would be good.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, couple other things here. Enforcement update. 422 Still River Road. Rebecca went out and visited the site. There is a resource areas have been delineated by Dillis and Roy, but as of right now, there is no compliance issue with what they've done to date. And if they are going to do any additional work that is jurisdictional, they will submit an NOI. Meadow Road, 100 East End Road and Century Mill, no updates on that. Meadow Road, there's a bunch of lots. Lot 4 is there's a cease and desist in place for lot 4, and for lot 7 and 8, they have the owners taking action to stabilize the site and may be coming before the commission to propose leaving some grindings there permanently. I think that's it. I think the only other thing Rebecca mentioned, that there's probably going to be another NOI that Rebecca will be submitting for work to be done at Bauer. Okay, and did everyone get a chance to read the minutes of the meeting for March 5th? Okay. I would like to make a motion that we accept and approve the minutes as drafted for the public meeting on April 5th, 2024. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye, starting with Lori.
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And I am also an aye.
Thank you.
Any other business that we want to talk about?
I think you covered it all, Jim.
Okay,
All right.
great, thank you. I would like to make a motion that we close the March 19th, 2024 meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye, starting with Lori.
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And I am also an aye.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Night.
Have a good night.
Have a great
Thank
night.
you, Jim. Good job.
Thank you.
We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Okay, bye.
Bye.